for Christmas. 2025, my daughter said, "You must give me a new car, otherwise don't come." My income is only $2,000 a month. I decided to give her a special gift. When she opened it and saw what was inside, she turned pale. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Margaret, and for 68 years, I'd lived by a simple principle. Family comes first. I'd raised 3 children in our modest 2-bedroom house in Cedar Falls, Iowa, worked 40 years as a school cafeteria manager, and after my husband Tom passed 5 years ago, I'd managed on my $2,000 monthly Social Security check. It wasn't much, but it was mine, earned through decades of hard work and sacrifice. My youngest daughter, Jessica, had always been different from her siblings. Where my sons, Michael and David, learned early about budgets and responsibility, Jessica seemed to float through life expecting things to simply appear. After her divorce 2 years ago, she'd moved back to town with my granddaughter, Emma, now 16. I'd helped where I could, bought school supplies, covered a few utility bills when times were tight. That's what grandmothers do, isn't it? But something had shifted over the past 6 months. Jessica's visits became less about family and more about requests. First, it was small things, groceries, gas money, then larger asks, help with rent, a new laptop for Emma. Each time, I dipped into my meager savings, telling myself this was temporary, that she'd get back on her feet. The warning signs were there, though I didn't want to see them. Jessica would arrive at my door with fresh manicures and designer coffee, complaining she couldn't afford Emma's winter coat. I'd notice new clothes, expensive takeout containers in her car, yet she'd claim poverty when asking for my help. My friends at church noticed too. "Margaret, honey," whispered Helen after Sunday service. "I saw Jessica at the casino last week, with quite a crowd." I'd defended her, of course. My daughter wouldn't lie to me. Would she? The relationship between Jessica and Emma troubled me even more. My granddaughter had become quiet, withdrawn. When I'd ask about school, she'd give one-word answers, her eyes darting to her mother for approval. Jessica controlled everything, Emma's friends, her activities, even her phone. She's just protective, I'd told myself. Single mothers have it hard. Then came December 23rd, 2025. I'd been preparing for our traditional Christmas Eve dinner, humming carols while peeling potatoes in my small kitchen. The doorbell rang, and I opened it to find Jessica standing on my porch, arms crossed, her face twisted with an expression I'd never seen directed at me before. Contempt. "We need to talk, Mom." Emma stood behind her mother, eyes red, clutching her old backpack. I ushered them inside, my grandmother's instinct sensing something terribly wrong. Jessica didn't sit. She paced my living room like a prosecutor preparing to strike. "Emma turns 17 in March. She's been accepted to the community college's early program." "That's wonderful," I started, but she cut me off. "She needs a car, a reliable car. Not some piece of junk that'll break down. A new one, or at least certified pre-owned. Emma deserves it after everything she's been through." My smile faltered. "Honey, that's expensive. Maybe we could look at used options together, and I could help with—" "You owe me this." Jessica's voice rose sharp enough to make me flinch. "I raised her alone while you never helped. You have that house. You could take out a loan or sell something. Figure it out." I stood frozen, the potato peeler still in my trembling hand. "Jessica, I'm on a fixed income. $2,000 a month, that's barely enough for—" "I don't care about your excuses." She stepped closer, her finger jabbing the air between us. "You're going to buy Emma that car for Christmas, or don't bother coming to our house tomorrow. We don't need you if you won't help us. Do you understand me? Don't. Even. Come." The words hit like physical blows. Emma's tears fell silently behind her mother, but she said nothing. My own daughter, threatening to cut me off from my granddaughter unless I produced a gift worth $15,000, maybe $20,000? On my income of $2,000 per month? As they stormed out, slamming my front door, I sank into Tom's old armchair, the same one where he'd held our babies, where we'd dreamed about retirement, where I'd cried alone after his funeral. The potato peeler clattered to the floor. Something inside me crystallized in that moment. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, more calculating. If Jessica wanted a special Christmas gift, I would give her one she'd never forget. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with a notepad, the same one I'd used for grocery lists and recipe cards, and began writing. Not a Christmas list. A ledger. $2,000 monthly income. $1,500 for mortgage, utilities, insurance, medication. $300 for food. $200 for everything else. Gas, phone, emergencies. The math was simple, brutal. There was no room for a car. There never had been. But the real calculation went deeper than dollars. I flipped to a new page and wrote the date. October 15th, 2024. Gave Jessica $500 for Emma's winter clothes. Below that, November 2024, $300 for emergency rent. December 2024, $400 for Christmas gifts, plus the tablet Emma desperately needed. January through November 2025, I stopped counting at $6,000. $6,000 in 11 months, scraped from my food budget, my heating budget, the small savings Tom had left me for emergencies. My hands shook as I totaled it. In 2 years since Jessica's divorce, I'd given her over $12,000. And what had I gotten in return? Threats, ultimatums, exclusion from my own granddaughter's life. The house creaked around me. Familiar sounds Tom and I had known for 40 years. How many times had I sat in this same spot, worrying about Jessica? Even as a teenager, she'd been the one who tested boundaries, who assumed the world owed her something. But I'd hoped motherhood would change her, that Emma would teach her responsibility. Instead, I'd enabled her. The truth sat heavy in my chest. I'd been so afraid of losing my daughter, of being cut off from Emma, that I'd let Jessica weaponize my love. And now she'd made her position clear. I was valuable only as an ATM machine. When I couldn't produce, I'd be discarded. But was Emma truly complicit? Or was she another victim? I remembered her tears, her silence, the way she'd flinched when Jessica raised her voice. For 2 years, I'd noticed small things. Emma asking to stay overnight at my house, claiming she just wanted to help Grandma. The way she'd linger after Jessica picked her up, as if reluctant to leave. The sadness in her 16-year-old eyes. My granddaughter was trapped. At 3 a.m., I made coffee, real coffee, not my usual budget brand, and opened my laptop. Tom had taught me basic computer skills before he passed, bless him. I started searching. Financial exploitation of elderly. Grandparents' rights. How to protect yourself from family manipulation. The articles painted a disturbing picture. What Jessica was doing had a name. Financial abuse. Adult children who drained elderly parents' resources, often through guilt, threats, and emotional manipulation. The pattern was textbook, escalating requests, anger when refused, isolation as punishment. I wasn't just a worried grandmother. I was a target. But I was also a woman who'd survived 68 years, raised 3 children, buried the love of my life, and managed on next to nothing. Jessica had made a critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. By dawn, I had a plan. It wouldn't be quick and it wouldn't be easy. But if Jessica wanted to play games with my love for Emma, if she thought she could bully me into financial ruin, She was about to learn something important. Midwestern grandmothers didn't survive the Great Recession, widowhood, and decades of budgeting through weakness. We survived through careful planning. I'd give Jessica her special gift, but not the one she expected. First, though, I needed information. Real information, not assumptions. I needed to know exactly what Jessica was doing with all that money I'd given her, where Emma truly stood in this situation, and whether my suspicions about gambling and wasteful spending were correct. I opened a new document and titled it, Project Emma's Future. The first step was obvious: documentation. Every dollar I'd given Jessica, every request, every promise she'd broken. I spent Christmas Eve day going through 2 years of bank statements, text messages, emails. Each withdrawal told a story. $500 here for emergency dental work that never got mentioned again. $300 there for Emma's school trip that Emma later told me was canceled. The lies stacked up like cordwood. At 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve, my phone rang. Jessica's number. I let it ring. She called again and again. The fourth time, she left a voicemail. Mom, maybe I overreacted yesterday. We're still expecting you for dinner tomorrow. Emma's asking about you. Bring the usual gifts, okay? The casual cruelty took my breath away. No apology for the threats, just an assumption that I'd fall in line like I always had. Bring the usual gifts, meaning money, checks, whatever she could extract. I texted back, not feeling well. Enjoy your Christmas. Her response came within seconds. Seriously? You're going to punish Emma because you're mad at me? There it was. The manipulation, using my granddaughter as a shield. But I'd learned something important in my sleepless night of research. The best defense against manipulation is documentation and witnesses. I forwarded Jessica's texts to both my sons. Within an hour, my phone rang. Michael, my oldest. Mom, what the hell is going on? For the first time, I told the truth. The day after Christmas, I walked into Cedar Falls Community Bank, where I'd held accounts for 37 years. Sheila Peterson, the branch manager, greeted me with her usual warm smile, though it faded when she saw my expression. Margaret, what's wrong? I need to make some changes to my accounts, Sheila, and I need your help documenting something. We sat in her office, and I laid out everything: the withdrawals, the requests, the threats. Sheila's face grew increasingly concerned as I explained. I want to protect myself from unauthorized access, I told her. And I need official records of all transactions involving my daughter over the past 2 years. Sheila didn't hesitate. We can do that. And Margaret, I'm going to recommend you speak with our fraud prevention specialist. What you're describing, it's elder financial abuse. We take that very seriously. Elder financial abuse. There it was again, that clinical term for what my daughter was doing to me. By the time I left the bank, I had new account numbers Jessica didn't know, passwords changed, and a comprehensive transaction history printed and notarized. I'd also filed a formal alert on my accounts, meaning any unusual activity would be flagged immediately. But the real revelation came from Tom Henderson, the fraud specialist. Mrs. Chen, I'm obligated to tell you something. 3 weeks ago, your daughter came in attempting to add herself to your checking account. She claimed you'd requested it, but forgotten due to memory issues. She had power of attorney paperwork. My blood ran cold. I never signed any power of attorney. I know. That's why I refused and made a note in your file. The signature looked questionable. I was planning to contact you after the holidays. He slid a photocopy across his desk. Is this your signature? It was a crude forgery, my name scrawled in handwriting that looked nothing like mine. Jessica had tried to forge documents to access my bank accounts. I'm keeping this, Tom said quietly. For evidence, if you need it. What your daughter attempted is a crime, Mrs. Chen. You could press charges. Could I? Should I? She was still my daughter, still Emma's mother. But she'd tried to steal from me, forge my signature, convince bank employees I was senile and incompetent. The point of no return wasn't a dramatic moment. It was this: sitting in a bank office, staring at my forged signature, realizing my daughter had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The car demand wasn't spontaneous anger. It was calculated escalation. I drove home in a daze, but by the time I pulled into my driveway, clarity had settled over me like fresh snow. I couldn't press charges, not yet. That would destroy any chance of reaching Emma. But I could build a wall of protection and documentation so strong that Jessica could never hurt me again. The next call was harder. I dialed my oldest son, Michael. "Mom? How are you holding up? Michael, I need you to listen carefully. Don't interrupt, just listen." I told him everything: the forgery attempt, the bank's concerns, the 2 years of financial exploitation. When I finished, silence stretched between us. Finally, his voice came, tight with anger. "That manipulative!" He caught himself. "Mom, I'm coming home. This weekend. We're dealing with this." "Not yet. I have a plan, but I need you to trust me." "Mom, Michael, please. I know what I'm doing, but I need you and David ready to support me when the time comes. Can you do that?" He agreed, reluctantly. That evening, I made the same call to David in Arizona. Both my sons were now aware, alert, and prepared to back me up. Jessica's isolation tactics would fail because I wasn't alone, but the real evidence came 2 days later, courtesy of Helen from church. She appeared at my door looking uncomfortable, holding her cell phone. "Margaret, I wasn't sure whether to show you this, but after what you told me on Sunday, I think you need to see it." She turned her phone screen toward me. It was Jessica's Facebook page, set to public. The photos told a story my daughter had been careful to hide from me. Jessica at an upscale restaurant, champagne glass raised. Jessica showing off new designer purse. Jessica at the casino, surrounded by laughing friends. Jessica on a weekend trip to Chicago last month, when she'd claimed she couldn't afford Emma's winter coat. "Keep scrolling," Helen said quietly. The timeline revealed everything. Every week I'd given her money for emergencies. She'd posted photos of luxury purchases, nights out, entertainment. The correlation was damning. My $500 for Emma's winter clothes? That week, Jessica posted photos from a spa day. My $400 for Christmas? She'd shown off tickets to a sold-out concert. "There's more," Helen said, her voice gentle. "Emma has her own account. She's been posting too." Emma's Instagram was private, but Helen's granddaughter followed her and had shared screenshots. "Mom took my babysitting money again. Can't wait to visit Grandma. It's the only place I feel safe. Mom says Grandma's rich and selfish, but Grandma lives on almost nothing and still helps us. Who's really selfish?" My granddaughter knew. She'd known all along what her mother was doing. Tears blurred my vision as I looked at Helen. "Can you send these to me? All of them?" "Already did. To your email." "Margaret, what are you going to do? What I should have done 2 years ago." "I'm going to protect my granddaughter and myself. And I'm going to teach my daughter that love isn't a weapon she can wield against her own mother." That night, I created a folder on my computer. Evidence. Inside went bank statements, the forged signature, Facebook screenshots, text messages, Emma's Instagram posts, and a detailed timeline correlating Jessica's luxury spending with my financial gifts. The picture was clear, documented, undeniable. My daughter was a thief, a manipulator, and a liar. And I had proof. New Year's Day, 2025. I did something I hadn't done in 40 years. I hired a lawyer. Margaret Hollis came recommended by the bank's fraud specialist. She specialized in elder law and family protection cases. When I spread my evidence across her conference table, Her expression shifted from professional courtesy to genuine alarm. Mrs. Chen, you understand this is criminal fraud? Attempted financial exploitation, forgery? Your daughter could face serious charges. I don't want her arrested, I said carefully. I want my granddaughter protected and my finances secured. Can you help me do that? Margaret leaned back in her chair, studying me. Let me ask you something. What's your real goal here? I'd thought about this constantly since Christmas. I want Emma free from her mother's manipulation. I want Jessica to understand she can't bully and exploit me, and I want legal protection so this never happens again. Then we need to be strategic. Margaret pulled out a legal pad. First, we establish guardianship parameters for Emma. She's 16, old enough that courts will consider her preferences if it comes to that. Second, we create an ironclad financial protection plan, including restraining orders if necessary. Third, we document everything for potential criminal charges if your daughter escalates. And if she doesn't escalate, Margaret smiled grimly. Oh, she will. People like your daughter don't respond well to boundaries. When you stop giving her money, she'll increase pressure. That's when we strike. Over the next week, I followed Margaret's careful strategy. I sent Jessica a certified letter, formal, legal, devastating in its simplicity. Due to my fixed income and financial constraints, I will no longer be able to provide financial assistance. I love you and Emma, but I must prioritize my own security in my retirement years. No accusations, no drama, just boundaries. Jessica's response came within hours, 23 text messages, escalating from disbelief to fury. You're cutting off your own granddaughter? What kind of grandmother are you? Emma's crying because of you. Each message was screenshot and forwarded to my lawyer. Then Jessica appeared at my door. It was January 7th, a Tuesday afternoon. I was prepared. Margaret had coached me extensively. I cracked the door, chain lock engaged, and faced my daughter's rage. You can't do this! Jessica's face was flushed, her voice shrill. That lawyer letter? Really, Mom? You're choosing money over family? I'm choosing my financial survival over your manipulation, Jessica. There's a difference. Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected me to be direct. Manipulation? I'm your daughter. Emma's your granddaughter. We need help. No, you need money. For casino trips and designer purses and spa days, while you told me you couldn't afford Emma's winter coat. I watched the color drain from her face. You've been stalking me online? I've been paying attention. Something I should have done years ago. I kept my voice steady, though my heart pounded. You forged my signature trying to access my bank accounts, Jessica. That's a crime. That was a misunderstanding. I was just trying to help. Stop lying. Each word came out sharp as glass. I have evidence. Bank records, social media posts, text messages, everything. I also have a lawyer who's very interested in elder abuse cases. Jessica's expression shifted rapidly. Shock, anger, calculation. You wouldn't take your own daughter to court. Try me. She stared at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in my daughter's eyes. Fear. Not of me, but of consequences. For the first time in her life, she realized I might actually follow through. Fine, she spat. But don't expect to see Emma. I won't let you poison her against me. Emma's 16, old enough to make her own choices about who she wants to see. If you try to stop her, that's parental alienation. Another issue my lawyer finds very interesting. Jessica's hand shot out, gripping the doorframe. You can't do this! You're my mother! You're supposed to help me! I did help you. For 2 years, I gave you over $12,000 while living on $2,000 a month. I chose heating bills over heat. food over comfort, all to support you. And you repaid me with forgery, threats, and manipulation. That ends now. Emma will hate you for this. Perhaps. But at least she'll be protected from watching her mother destroy her grandmother. I started to close the door. Goodbye, Jessica. She wedged her foot against the door. Wait, what about the car? Emma really does need... Emma needs many things. A mother who doesn't steal from her grandmother isn't one of them. A mother who doesn't use her as emotional blackmail definitely is. Work on those first. I closed the door. Through the wood, I heard her screaming threats, promises, pleading. Then her car started, tires squealing as she fled. My hands trembled as I locked the door. I'd done it. I'd confronted her, set boundaries, and survived. But Margaret's warning echoed, "She'll escalate." I took 3 days to recover emotionally. 3 days of quiet, of tea, of long walks around my neighborhood. Michael called daily, offering to come home. Not yet, I told him. Let her make the next move. The next move came January 11th, a letter from Johnson and Associates family law attorneys, claiming I'd made defamatory statements about Jessica and demanding I cease contact with Emma for her emotional well-being. I showed it to Margaret Hollis, who laughed bitterly. Johnson and Associates is a legal letter template service. Your daughter paid $49.95 online for a threatening letter that has no legal weight whatsoever. Send it back with a note. Contact my attorney, Margaret Hollis, and my business card. She's desperate, I said. She's losing control. That makes her dangerous, Margaret. Be careful. The temptation came on January 15th, delivered through the one weapon I couldn't fully defend against, Emma herself. My granddaughter appeared at my door after school, tears streaming down her face, backpack slung over one shoulder. Grandma, please, can we talk? Every instinct screamed to pull her inside, comfort her, fix everything. Instead, I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. My lawyer had warned me about potential recording devices, accusations of kidnapping if Jessica claimed I was hiding Emma. Baby, what's wrong? Mom says you hate us now, that you think we're thieves. Emma's voice cracked. She says you hired a lawyer to take her to jail. Grandma, why? Why are you doing this? My heart shattered, but I kept my voice gentle. Did your mother tell you what she tried to do at the bank? She said it was a misunderstanding. Emma, she forged my signature trying to access my accounts without my permission. She told bank employees I was senile. I watched my granddaughter's face carefully. Did she tell you that? Emma's expression shifted, confusion, then dawning realization. She said you were getting forgetful, that she needed to help manage your money. I'm 68, baby, not 98. My mind is perfectly clear. Clear enough to see that your mother has been taking money from me for luxuries while telling me she couldn't afford necessities for you. The winter coat, Emma whispered. She bought me one from Walmart after you gave her money. She said you'd sent $50, but you sent more, didn't you? $500. Emma's face went pale. She sank onto my porch step, and I sat beside her, close enough to comfort but respecting her space. She's been lying to both of us, Emma said finally, using me to get money from you. Yes, and the car? She really demanded you buy me a car? And said I wasn't welcome at Christmas if I didn't. My granddaughter was silent for a long moment. Then, I don't even want a car, Grandma. I want to stop being the reason she hurts you. You're not the reason, sweetheart. You're the excuse. There's a difference. We sat together as the January wind picked up, and I made a decision. Emma, I need to ask you something important. If you could choose where to live, where would you choose? Her answer came without hesitation. Here, with you. Even if it meant a legal battle with your mother? Grandma, I'm 16. In Iowa, I can petition the court about custody preferences. I Googled it. She looked at me with Tom's eyes, clear, determined, intelligent. If you're willing to fight for me, I'm willing to fight too. This was the moment Jessica had been building toward, turning Emma against me, making me the villain. Instead, it had backfired. My granddaughter saw the truth, but I had to be careful. If we do this, your mother will be furious. She'll make accusations, tell lies, do everything possible to hurt us both. Are you prepared for that? She already does that. At least with you, I'd be safe. Let me talk to my lawyer. We'll do this right, legally, carefully. Can you be patient? Emma nodded, then hugged me fiercely. Thank you for not giving up on me. After she left, I called Margaret Hollis and explained the situation. This changes everything, Margaret said. If Emma's willing to testify about her home environment, we have a much stronger case. But we need to move carefully. Jessica can't know Emma's planning to leave until we have everything in place. What do we need? Documentation of Jessica's behavior toward Emma, financial records showing she's spending Emma's babysitting money. That's technically theft from a minor, evidence of emotional manipulation. And we need Emma to keep a journal of everything that happens at home, dated and detailed. Jessica's going to fight this with everything she has. Let her. We have truth and evidence on our side. She has desperation. The next week, I found support in unexpected places. My church community, when I finally opened up about the situation, rallied around me. Helen organized a rotating schedule. Someone checked on me daily, ensuring I wasn't alone if Jessica showed up. Pastor Williams offered to write a character reference if needed. My sons arrived that weekend, Michael from Minnesota, David from Arizona. They'd taken time off work without telling me, appeared at my door Friday evening with groceries and determination. We're staying until this is resolved, Michael said flatly. Jessica's been calling us, trying to convince us you're having a breakdown. She's panicking, Mom. That means you're winning. This isn't about winning. Yes, it is, David interrupted. It's about Emma's safety and your dignity. Jessica made this a fight. Now we finish it. Their presence brought unexpected peace. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't facing Jessica's manipulation alone. I had witnesses, supporters, people who believed me. On January 20th, Jessica called. Her voice was saccharine sweet, obviously forced. Mom, I've been thinking. Maybe we both overreacted. Why don't you come over for dinner this weekend? We can talk things through like adults. Every fiber of my being recognized the trap. I don't think that's a good idea right now, Jessica. You're really going to keep this grudge going. Over what? A misunderstanding at the bank? It wasn't a misunderstanding, it was fraud. The sweetness evaporated. Fine. But don't blame me when Emma suffers because you're too stubborn to forgive your own daughter. Click. I played the recording for Margaret. I'd started recording all calls with Jessica on my lawyer's advice. She's trying to lure you into a confrontation on her territory, Margaret observed, where she controls the narrative, probably with witnesses she's coached. Don't go. I wasn't planning to, but I felt it. The pressure building, the storm gathering. Jessica was losing control, and desperate people did desperate things. They arrived on January 25th without warning. Jessica, accompanied by 2 people I didn't recognize. A man in his late 40s, expensive suit, practiced smile. A woman about Jessica's age, carrying a leather portfolio. I watched from my window as they approached, Michael and David flanking me. This is it, Michael muttered. The show. I opened the door before they could knock, chain lock engaged. Jessica? Mom. Her smile was bright, brittle. This is Dr. Harrison, a family therapist, and Denise Kowalski, A mediator. We thought it might help if we had professional guidance to work through our misunderstanding. Professional guidance she couldn't afford, appearing at my door without appointment. My suspicion radar screamed. I didn't agree to any mediation, I said calmly. Which is part of the problem. Jessica's mask slipped slightly. You won't even talk to me anymore. We need help communicating, Mom, for Emma's sake. Dr. Harrison stepped forward, his voice smooth as silk. Mrs. Chen, I understand there's been conflict. Family disputes are difficult, but with proper mediation, we can find common ground. May we come in? Just for a conversation, no commitment required. No. The single word hung in cold January air. Jessica's face flushed. You won't even... I said no. I have legal representation, and any mediation would be arranged through proper channels, not ambush visits. Denise opened her portfolio, pulling out papers. We actually have preliminary mediation agreements prepared. If you could just sign... Stop. Michael appeared beside me, his 6-foot 2-inch frame filling the doorway. My mother isn't signing anything without her attorney present. Who hired you? I did, Jessica said quickly, because someone needs to be the adult here. Mom's being completely unreasonable. Mom's protecting herself from someone who tried to forge her signature to access her bank accounts, David said, appearing on my other side. Want to discuss that with your therapist? Dr. Harrison's smile never wavered, but something shifted in his eyes. Calculation. Family dynamics are complex. Sometimes elderly parents become confused about financial matters, and children naturally step in to help. My mother isn't confused, Michael said coldly. She's being financially exploited, and you're part of it. I recognized the game now. Jessica had hired these people, probably paying them with money she'd extracted from me, to create a paper trail showing I was uncooperative, refusing help, possibly mentally declining. The mediation papers likely contained language giving Jessica access to my finances under the guise of family healing. How much did my daughter pay you? I asked Dr. Harrison directly. His smile froze. I don't discuss fees, because she probably hasn't paid you at all yet, has she? She promised future payment, probably claimed I'd cover it once we resolved things. I looked at Jessica. Did you tell them I'm wealthy? That I'm sitting on money I'm selfishly withholding from my struggling daughter? Jessica's face confirmed everything. I addressed the therapist and mediator directly. My income is $2,000 monthly Social Security. I live in a 40-year-old house with a mortgage. I have no significant savings. My daughter has extracted over $12,000 from me in 2 years through manipulation and guilt, then attempted to forge documents to access my bank accounts. If you've been told otherwise, you've been lied to. Denise Kowalski paled, glancing at Jessica. You said your mother was financially comfortable and refusing to help with your daughter's education. I lied. Jessica's voice rose to a shriek. What do you want me to say? That I need money and my mother won't give it to me anymore? That my meal ticket dried up? Fine. There it is. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. You owe me. Jessica jabbed her finger at me. I'm your daughter. You're supposed to help me. That's what mothers do. Mothers help their children become independent, I said quietly. They don't bankrupt themselves enabling bad behavior. Bad behavior? I'm trying to survive. With casino trips and designer purses? With spa days while you steal Emma's babysitting money? Jessica's eyes went wild. She told you about that? That little... Careful, David warned. Threatening a minor in front of witnesses isn't wise. Dr. Harrison and Denise were backing away, recognizing they'd been manipulated into a situation far uglier than advertised. Mrs. Chen, I apologize, Harrison said stiffly. I was clearly given incomplete information. We'll be going. Send my mother your bill, I called after them, since she hired you fraudulently using my name. As they retreated to their car, Jessica remained on my porch, trembling with rage. You're destroying our family. No, Jessica, you did that when you chose manipulation over honesty, theft over integrity, control over love. Emma will never forgive you for this. Emma's the one who told me about the babysitting money. She's the one who wants to live with me instead of you. She's the one who's tired of being your weapon against me. For a moment, I thought Jessica might lunge at me. Her hands clenched into fists, her breathing ragged. But Michael and David's presence kept her barely in check. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You think you're so smart with your lawyer and your evidence? I'm still her mother. The courts will side with me. You're just a lonely old woman trying to steal my daughter." I'm a grandmother trying to protect her granddaughter from an abusive, manipulative parent who uses her child as a bargaining chip for money. And I have 2 years of evidence proving exactly that. Jessica spun on her heel and stalked to her car. Before driving away, she rolled down her window. "You're going to regret this, all of you. You'll never see Emma again. I'll make sure of it." The tires squealed as she fled. Again, always dramatic exits when things didn't go her way. Michael closed and locked the door, then pulled me into a hug. "Mom, you were incredible." But I was shaking. Not from fear, from the adrenaline of confrontation, from seeing my daughter's true face without any pretense. The Jessica who'd just stood on my porch bore no resemblance to the little girl I'd raised, the young woman I'd loved. When had she become this? Or had she always been this way, and I'd simply refused to see it? That night, Emma called from a friend's house. "Grandma, Mom came home screaming about you. She threw things, broke dishes. I'm scared. Where are you now?" "At Jennifer's. Her mom said I can stay tonight." "Good. Stay there. I'm calling my lawyer right now." "Grandma, I'm ready. Whatever you need to do, I'm ready." The fear in her voice hardened my resolve into something unbreakable. Jessica had shown her true intentions: control, money, and power over both Emma and me. She'd brought fake professionals to manipulate me, threatened Emma, made her position clear. The gloves were off, and I was ready to finish this. The court date was set for February 14th, Valentine's Day, ironically. 6 weeks of preparation, documentation, and waiting. 6 weeks of Jessica's escalating harassment. Threatening texts, calls to my sons claiming I was losing my mind, even a visit from Adult Protective Services based on an anonymous tip that I was self-neglecting. The APS visit backfired spectacularly. The social worker, a kind woman named Patricia, found me healthy, alert, living in a clean home with organized finances and clear documentation of why I'd cut off Jessica. "Mrs. Chen, whoever reported you wasted our time," Patricia said. "You're clearly competent. But I am concerned about the harassment you're experiencing. Have you considered a restraining order?" I had. Margaret Hollis had one prepared, pending the custody hearing. Emma had officially filed a petition to live with me, citing emotional abuse, financial exploitation, and an unsafe home environment. Iowa law allowed 16-year-olds significant input in custody matters. With my lawyer's help, we'd built an airtight case. The morning of February 14th, I dressed in my best church dress. Navy blue, simple, dignified. Michael and David flanked me as we entered the courthouse. Emma waited with a court-appointed advocate, looking terrified but determined. Jessica arrived 20 minutes late with a different lawyer. Her third in 6 weeks, Margaret had noted. The previous 2 had quit after seeing the evidence. Judge Patricia Morrison, a stern woman in her 60s, called the hearing to order. "This is a petition by minor Emma Chen Williams, age 16, requesting a change in primary custody from Mother Jessica Williams to paternal grandmother Margaret Chen." "Ms. Williams, you're contesting this petition?" Jessica's new lawyer, a young man who looked fresh out of law school, stood. "Yes, Your Honor. My client maintains that this petition is the result of the grandmother's manipulation and interference in the parent-child relationship." "I've read your filing, counsel." Judge Morrison's tone was dry. "I've also read Mrs. Chen's comprehensive response, including exhibits documenting financial exploitation, attempted fraud, and emotional manipulation." Let's proceed with testimony. The next 3 hours were brutal. Margaret presented our evidence methodically. Bank statements showing my $12,000 in gifts versus my $2,000 monthly income. The forged signature from Jessica's bank visit. Social media posts proving Jessica's luxury spending while claiming poverty. Text messages showing threats and manipulation. Emma's babysitting money being taken without permission. Then came Emma's testimony. My granddaughter sat in the witness stand, small but steady, and told her truth. My mother uses me to get money from Grandma. She says, "Tell her you need this," or cry so she feels bad. When Grandma gives money for me, Mom spends it on herself. She took $400 I earned babysitting last summer, said I owed her for food and rent. Jessica's lawyer tried to object, but Judge Morrison silenced him. I want to hear this. Continue, Emma. Mom threatened to keep me from Grandma if Grandma didn't buy me a car for Christmas. But I don't want a car. I want to feel safe. At Grandma's house, I'm not a tool for getting money. I'm just me. Jessica couldn't stay silent. That's a lie. You're turning her against me. Ms. Williams, you'll have your turn, Judge Morrison said sharply. Sit down. When Jessica finally testified, it was a disaster. She denied the forgery attempt until presented with the bank's security footage showing her trying to add herself to my accounts. She denied the Facebook posts until Margaret pulled them up in court. She denied taking Emma's money until Emma's bank statements showed regular withdrawals that Emma swore she didn't make. With each denial met with proof, Jessica's credibility crumbled. Your Honor, Jessica's lawyer tried desperately, my client is a single mother struggling financially. Sometimes parenting decisions in difficult circumstances can appear to be fraud, theft, and emotional abuse? Judge Morrison's eyebrows rose. Counsel, I've been on this bench for 20 years. I know the difference between struggling parents and exploitation. This case is textbook financial abuse of an elderly parent with a minor child caught in the crossfire. Then the judge turned to Jessica directly. Ms. Williams, I'm looking at evidence that you attempted to forge your mother's signature to access her bank accounts, that you demanded she purchase a vehicle worth potentially $20,000 despite knowing her income is $2,000 monthly, that you've extracted over $12,000 through manipulation and guilt. And when she established boundaries, you threatened to withhold access to her granddaughter. Is any of this untrue? Jessica opened her mouth, closed it. Her lawyer whispered urgently, but she brushed him aside. She's my mother. She's supposed to help me. That's what family does. Family helps each other through legitimate hardship, Ms. Williams. They don't commit fraud and manipulate vulnerable elderly parents. Judge Morrison's voice was cold as winter. They certainly don't use children as weapons. Emma's my daughter, and you've been using her as a bargaining chip for money. The evidence is overwhelming and frankly disgusting. I watched my daughter deflate, the reality finally penetrating. She thought she could talk her way through this, charm the judge, paint me as the villain. Instead, every word from her mouth had made things worse. Judge Morrison reviewed her notes, then delivered her ruling. I'm granting Emma's petition. Primary custody is transferred to Margaret Chen, effective immediately. Ms. Williams, you'll have supervised visitation every other weekend, contingent on completion of a court-ordered program addressing financial manipulation and parenting. You're also ordered to repay Mrs. Chen the sum of $12,000 at a rate of $200 monthly. Jessica stood, shaking. You can't? I can, and I have. Furthermore, based on the attempted fraud at Cedar Falls Community Bank, I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for potential criminal charges. You're fortunate Mrs. Chen hasn't pressed charges already. Mom! Jessica turned to me, tears streaming. Mom, please, tell her you don't want this. I stood, meeting my daughter's eyes. For 2 years, I'd given in to those tears, that desperation. Not anymore. I want my granddaughter safe and my dignity intact. You took both from me, Jessica. You turned my love into a weapon and my generosity into a target. I would have given you anything if you'd just been honest, if you'd respected me instead of using me. But you made your choice. I'm your daughter, and Emma's my granddaughter. She deserves better than being raised by someone who sees relationships as transactions. Maybe someday you'll understand that. Until then, we're done. Judge Morrison gavelled the hearing closed. Court is adjourned. Mrs. Chen, Emma will be released into your custody immediately. Ms. Williams, you'll receive notice about your supervised visitation schedule and required programs. Jessica collapsed into her lawyer's chair, sobbing. For a moment, just a moment, I felt the old maternal instinct to comfort her. But Emma appeared beside me, slipping her hand into mine, and the feeling passed. My daughter had made her bed. Now she'd lie in it. The weeks following the court decision felt surreal, like waking from a nightmare into bright daylight. Emma moved into my second bedroom, the one that had been her mother's childhood room. We spent the first weekend quietly, both of us processing what had happened. She attended school, did homework at my kitchen table, helped with dinner. Simple, normal, peaceful. Is it always this calm? She asked one evening. Usually, I said, unless there's a particularly exciting church bake sale. She laughed, the first genuine laugh I'd heard from her in years. But Jessica wasn't done. The first supervised visitation was scheduled for March 1st at a neutral facility. Jessica arrived on time, overly cheerful, clearly coached by someone on appropriate behavior. She brought gifts, expensive gifts she couldn't afford, including a designer purse for Emma. Mom, you didn't have to, Emma started. I wanted to. I know things have been hard, but I'm working on myself. Therapy, classes, everything the judge ordered. Jessica's smile was bright, desperate. We can get past this, can't we? You still love me? Emma looked uncomfortable. Mom, I never stopped loving you, but that doesn't mean I can live with you. The smile cracked. But I'm changing. I'm doing everything they asked. The supervisor, a woman named Rose, intervened gently. Ms. Williams, this is about rebuilding trust. That takes time. Over the next months, the pattern repeated. Jessica would arrive for visitation promising change, bringing inappropriate gifts, desperately trying to prove she was fixed. But her social media told a different story. Still casino trips, still luxury spending, still complaints about the unfair court ruling. The court ordered restitution? She missed the first payment, and the second. By April, she was 3 payments behind. Margaret Hollis filed a motion for contempt. She's not even trying, Margaret said. The visits are performance art, nothing more. In May, something broke inside Jessica. During a supervised visit, Emma mentioned college applications. She'd been accepted to a local community college with a partial scholarship. Jessica's face went dark. How are you paying for that? Did your grandmother promise you money? I have the scholarship, plus I'm working part-time at the library. After everything I did for you, you're just going to abandon me? Choose her over me? Mom, I'm not choosing. Yes, you are. You always have. She turned you against me with her money and her perfect grandmother act. Jessica stood abruptly. Well, congratulations, Emma. Enjoy your new life. Don't come crying to me when you realize what you've done. She stormed out, leaving Emma in tears. It was the last scheduled visitation Jessica attended. The next 3, she simply didn't show up. No call, no explanation, nothing. In June, I received notice that Jessica had moved to Nevada, Las Vegas of all places. No forwarding address for Emma, no goodbye, just gone. She ran away, Emma said quietly when I told her, because she couldn't face failing. I'm sorry, baby. Don't be. I'm sad, but I'm also relieved. Is that terrible? No, it's honest. The district attorney's office, meanwhile, had been building a case. The attempted fraud at the bank, combined with evidence of financial exploitation, resulted in formal charges filed in July. Jessica, now in Nevada, failed to appear for her arraignment. A warrant was issued. "She's running from consequences," Michael said during a family dinner, now a weekly tradition. "Eventually, they'll catch up." They did. In August, Jessica was arrested in Las Vegas for writing bad checks. The Iowa warrant flagged during booking. She was extradited, faced trial in September. I didn't attend. Neither did Emma. We'd moved on. The trial was brief. Jessica pleaded guilty to attempted fraud and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The sentence: 2 years probation, mandatory restitution of the full $12,000, and community service. No jail time, given it was a first offense, but the conviction would follow her forever. The judge's words at sentencing were reported to me by Margaret. "Ms. Williams, you betrayed your mother's trust and used your daughter as a weapon. You're fortunate your mother is more merciful than you deserve. Use this opportunity to become the person your daughter needs you to be." But Jessica didn't attend her first probation meeting. She violated the terms within weeks, returned to Las Vegas, and promptly disappeared into the city's underbelly. I heard through church connections that she'd fallen deeper into gambling, living with a series of questionable boyfriends, bouncing between casino jobs. The woman I'd raised was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. And Emma? Emma blossomed. 1 year after the court decision, I stood in Emma's dorm room at the University of Iowa. She'd earned a full academic scholarship. No debt, just opportunity. My life had transformed. I'd joined the Senior Center's financial literacy program, teaching other elderly people how to protect themselves from exploitation. Emma thrived at college, dean's list, new friends, weekly calls home. "Do you ever think about her?" I asked once. "Sometimes, but I don't miss the chaos. With you, life is just normal, boring, wonderful." As for Jessica, the updates came sporadically through church friends. Evicted in February 2026. Fired for theft in May. Arrested for shoplifting in August, 60 days in jail. She tried contacting Emma with rambling messages. Emma blocked her. By December 2026, Jessica was arrested for drug dealing. 2 years in prison. Emma came home for Christmas with her boyfriend Marcus. Normal family traditions, free from drama. She gave me a framed photo. "To Grandma, for teaching me that love means boundaries." I'd built a good life. Emma had built a good life. Jessica had destroyed hers, one choice at a time. The lessons I learned: love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. Family doesn't give anyone the right to abuse you. You can't save someone who won't save themselves. Protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. So I ask you, what would you do if your child demanded you sacrifice your security for their comfort? Would you recognize manipulation disguised as need? Would you have the courage to set boundaries? If this story resonated with you, please share it. Leave a comment. Thank you for listening. May you never need the strength I found, but may you have it if you do.